our logical brain, called the prefrontal cortex behind our eyes and our forehead,
Yes,
gets shut down.
it does.
Because you don't want to analyze the motivations of the tiger while it's eating you.
No.
You want to just be afraid so that fear can help you escape.
Welcome back to the Love Stories podcast. I'm your host, Charlene Byars. I am so excited to welcome my next guest to the show today. Dr. Nicole Cain, ND, MA, author of the acclaimed book, Panic Proof, is a leading expert in trauma-informed and integrative approaches for mental and emotional wellness. With a degree in clinical psychotherapy, training in EMDR, and licensed as a neuropathic physician in the state of Arizona, her approach to mental health is multidisciplinary, medical, psychological, and holistic. I am so excited for you to hear this conversation. It was such a powerful conversation with all that Dr. Nicole Cain shared. She explained anxiety in a way that I never heard before, and it was so liberating. She said that anxiety isn't a flaw, it's a messenger. And we need to learn how to get curious, not critical. So powerful. For anyone who has suffered from any form of anxiety, get ready for this powerful conversation. Oh, it was so good. And remember, stick around for the tip of the week at the end of the show. Welcome to Love Stories, a relationship podcast for successful women, where we talk about love, dating, relationships, and how great love stories are made. I'm Charlene Byars, and I'm so excited to share all the things that you can apply to create a beautiful love story of your own. Cheers to great love. Well, hello, Dr. Nicole Cain. Oh my goodness. I am so excited to have you on the show today. And it has been such a journey to get you here because I know that you have such a busy schedule and we were booked up. And honestly, we've made this happen. So first of all, truly thank you for being here.
It's magical. I remember when we connected, it was total synergy online. And we're like, oh my gosh, we need to get together. And I was like, how about within the next 2 months? And you're like, how about in the next year? And then the stars aligned and we're here. So this is meant to be. I'm really happy.
Thank you so much. No, seriously, because I remember when I talked to you, we had our pre-interview call and I'm like, oh, we need her on the show. And then I looked at the schedule. I'm like, oh, I don't know how we're going to do this. And then something happened. I'm like, oh, we're going to have her on the show. And then you just so happened to be available too.
Yeah.
So literally the stars aligned.
Yeah. And I'm flying out of the state for the rest of the year in
That's
like
right.
2 days.
That's right. And
So
then you
this
were
is-
leaving. That was another thing.
Yeah.
You were leaving and you're not going to
Yeah.
be back until the fall.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Okay.
We did it.
Fantastic. We did
Check
it.
and check.
So she's here. No, but one of the reasons too, I mean, obviously I want to hear your story today. And, but one thing that I just want to let you know, the book that you wrote when it comes to, anxiety and our panic attacks, honestly, you guys, seriously, this book, Panic Proof, is incredible. It is the manual. Like it is the manual that I believe that all of us should have because how you broke things down and what you explained and things that we can actually apply in our life. So it wasn't just a book of just talking about it. It was things that we can actually do to help our anxiety, to, manage it or what all the levels that you're going to talk about today. But before we even get into the depth of this book and your journey, I know that a lot of us hear the word anxiety and we hear anxiety and I have anxiety, but I think, often we don't exactly know what that is and how it really affects us physically and how it affects us, with all the levels of our everything. So can you explain to the listeners right now, okay, what exactly is anxiety?
I think a great place to start is in the body.
Okay.
And so our body was designed to respond to danger. And that can show up from head to toe. If there's danger, we may feel our heart pounding. The heart pounds to send blood to all your extremities so that you can run away from a tiger or anything else impending.
Okay.
You'll breathe faster, your metabolism speeds up so that you have the energy. Your cortisol rises, your thoughts will just zero in on danger, danger, get away, or fight it, Or if you can't fight it, some people flop and they just give up like sheep. And so we all have these built-in biological responses, which is really good
Yes.
when we're in actual danger.
Okay.
But when the body produces those responses out of the context of actual danger, such as you're bringing your kid to school, or you're about to do an interview, or maybe you get an email that is really super stressful, and then the body goes into this response,
Mm-hmm.
we feel all of these physical feelings of fear, but we feel out of control. We don't have power, and it's out of context. So that's anxiety.
That's anxiety.
Yes.
Okay. So is it something that you would say, because I mean, I grew up in a home, and I would say that my mom had a lot of anxiety. And honestly, and I love my mom, she's adorable. But that really affected me, interestingly enough, because I don't think that I had a lot of anxiety, and I'm not putting this on my mom, but I'm just saying, I remember my mom having a lot of anxiety. She was worried about everything. I mean, everything. To the point that I remember even having children. And when I had children, and I felt bad for her, like she ended up having a full-on breakdown. Panic attack breakdown. But in our culture, we really didn't talk about anxiety. That's why I love that we're having this conversation. I love that you wrote this book. We didn't really talk about it. We really understand it. But I remember my mom, being worried to the point, like it was debilitating. Like she couldn't even function sometimes because her worries were so much. Where does that come from?
It's an adaptation to something. And so when we think about anxiety, at least how I was raised, is that anxiety is a problem. Anxiety means you're broken, and we can't get rid of it. You have to live with it for the rest of your life. And my mission for the past 20 plus years has been to prove that stuff wrong. And the science supports that anxiety are symptoms that are telling us what's needing healing and how to do that healing. And we can actually recover from anxiety. And the beginning of that conversation starts with, what are these symptoms trying to tell me?
Okay.
So with your mom, it's an adaptation to something.
Okay.
It's kind of like I live in Michigan half the year.
Okay.
I'm in Michigan in the winter and it's really cold. And so I adapt to that by putting on a winter coat.
Okay.
That protects me, mind, body, spirit, all the things. It keeps me alive. It's an adaptation.
Okay.
And then when I come back to Arizona, it's really warm. If I don't continue to adapt and take off that coat that was protecting me is now causing me to suffer. So something either did happen or didn't happen in your mom's life or in her ancestors' lives that created this adaptive response where she's trying to protect herself and those that she loves. And oftentimes, those adaptive responses can be outside of the brain. It can be in the gut. It can be in the hormones. So our job and what this book is all about is helping us be the detectives of our symptoms so that we can figure out what they're trying to tell us.
Oh, that's really good, because something that you also wrote in the book, when you talked about trauma, and you talked about how anxiety, it can stay in our bodies, right? My mother, from a very young age, went through a lot of trauma. And can you talk a little more about how the body recognizes it? It stays in the body. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah. And one of the biggest things about trauma is that trauma is really defined as anything that changes the way we see ourselves, others, and the world.
Okay.
We used to think of trauma just as veterans with PTSD. And so people will say, oh, I don't have trauma. But we all go through difficulty, and we all respond to that difficulty in our own unique way. We may not have PTSD with flashbacks and nightmares, which are classic for post-traumatic stress disorder. And so in the book, I use the language of adversive or adaptive experiences because it's different for everybody.
Yes.
But if we have to adapt to something and those adaptations put us in more of an autonomic arousal or fear-based state, it's a trauma response that's like your coat's still on, even though maybe she was safe as she got older and had more agency.
Right.
Yes.
That's exactly what it was. Because even though she wasn't in that space anymore, life
Mhm.
was different, she was still responding to
Mhm.
that space. And to the point, I remember also when I had my children, oh my goodness, poor thing, poor thing. She would literally leave the house and she would call me and she'd be like, Charlene, okay, is the gate for the pool, like this? And, just constantly. And it wasn't until she had to actually go, because we actually, let me tell you this, I hear this a lot. I thought that anxiety was just something that you either have or you don't, like you're born with it.
Mhm.
Not necessarily true.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something happened, and it can be outside of our awareness, where maybe when you were a kid, if you have anxiety now,
Mhm.
as an example, someone who's listening, is they were driving down the highway, they're in third grade, they weren't really paying attention, but they saw in their peripheral vision a red truck come, run a red light, and hit them.
Okay.
So they are all okay, it's all fine. But then as an adult, every time they see a red truck, they don't know why, they feel anxious. So the body memorizes things that could be dangerous. There's a part of the brain called the hippocampus,
Mhm.
and it's always storing all this information so that as another part of the brain we call the salience network is scanning everything that's happening, like in this room while you and I are
Okay.
talking, our brains are hearing the traffic outside. We're hearing our amazing producer. We're noticing each other's body language. Maybe you feel something like in your tummy.
Mhm.
Our brains are scanning and picking up on all of that. And then if it seems relevant, it will send that down to the amygdala, the emotional processing part,
Mhm. Mhm.
which then looks in the backlogs, all the data of all of our experience to
That's what's
say,
going
have
on.
we seen this before? And so if it has, and if it could have been dangerous, it may tell the amygdala we might be in danger. And the amygdala is, I got you, boo, sends off a whole autonomic arousal cascade that can feel like
It
anxiety or
can feel
panic.
like the anxiety. Okay, so
Yeah.
it could literally be something, wow, something that, like you said, happened way long, like long time
Mhm.
ago, but it
Mhm.
can show up later on.
Yeah.
It can really start showing up later on. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so overall, when it comes to, I know there's so much here,
Yeah.
but how does then, when we're talking about, and what have you noticed when it comes to the matters of the heart, how anxiety really can play a factor in us not really being able to trust, or us not really having that connection that we're wanting because we're dealing with some anxiety. Can you talk a little bit
Mm.
about that?
We talk so much about what did happen to us.
Mhm.
In fact, Bruce Perry and Oprah wrote a book, What Happened to You?
What happened to you?
It's all about what did happen to us, but I feel like you're introducing something that's equally or maybe even arguably more important, and it's what didn't.
What didn't?
What didn't. And so oftentimes, our lived experience in the present is reflective of what didn't happen to us. Unmet needs, connection, self-love, attachment. And so we have these different areas of thought and psychology and counseling and looking at what are the links between attachment and our experiences. But the body keeps the score of
The
all of
body
that.
keeps the score.
And it all goes back to what didn't happen to us.
What didn't happen to us? And
Yeah.
that starts affecting us when it
Yeah.
comes to other areas in the matters of the heart. Well, let me just ask you this. Take me back a little bit. I want to learn a little bit about you because
Yeah.
obviously you wrote this incredible book, and I want to know where this came from. Like, what sparked this book and this depth of really helping, when it comes to the panic and when it comes to anxiety. So tell me a little bit about how you grew up and when did you first and started, noticing anxiety yourself?
As you were saying that, and I was kind of going down the timeline to my
Mhm.
childhood, I remember seeing somebody have a panic attack when I was in high school.
You did?
Yeah, she had a
Okay.
horrible panic attack. We were in theater together,
Okay. Talk
and
about that.
she was laying on the floor and she was crying, "I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die, and I'm gonna die." And nobody there knew what was wrong.
Okay.
We're all like, "Oh my God, she's gonna die."
Right.
I felt helpless, I felt powerless, and I felt afraid. And there were these feelings that she was describing in her body that I think back on now, and it was a panic attack. I'm still friends with her now, which
You
is
are.
really cool.
That's really cool.
But when I look at that snapshot, I saw that happening throughout my personal experience in my life in lots of different ways.
Okay.
So this is one of the myths about anxiety
Okay.
is people believe if they're not having a full-on panic attack like that they're not having anxiety.
Oh, okay.
But anxiety is on a spectrum.
Yes.
And I think about it, and you saw in the book that it's the green light, yellow light, red light. And I'll get into that more.
Okay. Yeah.
But when I was a kid, I grew up in a family where I had two parents that probably didn't have any business being parents.
Okay.
They were 19 and 20 years old.
Oh my goodness.
They just wanted to be teenagers.
Okay.
And so there was a lot of recycling authoritarian parenting and emotional lack of maturity.
Lack of maturity. Yep.
And I don't fault them for that. That's just, they did the best they could with what they had.
Yep.
But the result of that, the way that I coped, little Nicole coped with that, is to be very hyper vigilant of every little thing they said and did. And that it was my job to make them happy or to calm them down when they're angry or to try to get my little brother to not be a pest. Because I
was going to ask you, did you have any siblings?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So were you the oldest?
I was the oldest.
So it was just you and your brother?
Yes.
And did your parents stay together?
They did.
They did stay together?
Yeah.
Okay. So from an early age, you already had a completely different responsibility than your typical, let me just be a little girl and have some fun. No, that's interesting, huh? How that happens.
Yeah.
So you were in an environment, you're like, even though, we said, parents do the best they can. I get it. But really how they show up and their healing journey and all that does affect us as children. It just does. It's just what it is. And so at an early age, you were in an environment that you felt that you had to not only protect yourself, protect your brother, and then be there for your parents. That's a lot.
And I imagine you resonate with that because
Yes.
your mom was anxious.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
You picked up on that.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Because I didn't feel as I was a young girl that I had the anxiety, but 100% as I got older, I felt like I was more the one that had to take care of her emotions, make her feel safe, make her feel okay. And by the way, let me just tell you, my mom has done a lot of work. And you know what I mean? She's like a completely different woman now. Like seriously, I just give her so much kudos for the strength and for diving into this because like I said earlier, it was debilitating. Yeah. And that's why I love this conversation because you guys, if you're listening to this right now and you're like, oh, I also have anxiety, which is very relatable. So many of us, it is something that you can work through. It's not like, the end result. That's it. You have anxiety, nothing's going to change. It's something that you can work through this. Okay, so let's keep going. So then you're a little girl.
Yeah.
And you're going through that experience.
Because there's always a why. It's just a matter of what is that why? And if we can target that why, then we can heal. And so the adaptations, the coat that I put on when I was little of being really hypervigilant, really attuned to everybody's body language, and then feeling responsible to take care of everybody and fix everybody. And then that feeling of powerlessness when my little friend was having a panic attack started this journey of, is anxiety a life sentence? Is fear a life sentence? My parents are afraid. My friends are afraid. I feel all sorts of insecure.
Yeah.
So they sent me to a primary care doctor, gave me an antidepressant. And so then I started gaining weight, which sucks.
Yeah.
Nobody
you're like,
wants
well,
that.
I don't want that either.
I don't want that.
You're like, no, now I'm having anxiety because I'm gaining weight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then I was depressed. I was gaining weight. My hormones were getting all whacked out. And I don't know if that was the antidepressant or just puberty or whatever.
Just all the stuff. Yeah. Probably a combination of everything a little bit.
A combination of everything. Because as we learn, it all, it's like a domino.
Yes.
It all interacts.
Yes.
And then I was having horrible allergies. My gut was a mess. So then I was on 6 different prescriptions by the time I entered college.
Wow.
And I still had all these adaptive mechanisms from childhood.
Yes.
A fear of safety where this person's just going to abandon me. They're not going to love me. I have to earn it. And then being insecure in relationships.
That was the next question. Oh, that's good. You're going there.
Yeah,
okay.
that's self-love.
How did that affect when it came to you, in the matters of the heart? Were you fancying the boys pretty early and had boyfriends, or were you more in a sense of, okay, I'm kind of just dealing with my own thing? What happened there? What was going on with you?
I love you. I've never told anybody on an interview with this.
Let's go.
Is I kept journals my entire life.
You did.
It was a big coping skill. So I have boxes of spiral notebooks with my journals.
Okay.
So recently I went back and I dug them up because I'm going to put them in a fire safe box.
Okay. Yeah.
Because that's my story.
Yeah, it's your story.
But when I was looking at it, I was like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. Because 90% of what I wrote about were boys.
Well, boys.
That's all I cared about. But it's not just like, oh, she's boy crazy.
No.
It's because it's an unmet need.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I was trying to fill that need. So I spent a lot of my young life praying for my soulmate, wanting to create a family, feeling really scared and insecure and not having that family.
No.
Paying attention to my own soul and my own self, not even a part of the conversation because I'm broken, need to be medicated with a problem that you can't solve.
Wow.
So using external sources to try to meet those needs, I ended up meeting Paul. Love him. You know Paul. He's the best person.
He's the best. He's her husband.
Love
He's
him.
amazing.
But he can't fill those needs.
Nope.
And here's the other thing too, is if my mother or someone's listening, if your mother didn't look at you in the eyes with absolute love and adoration, that's going to affect the child.
Yes.
And that gets stored throughout the body.
Yes.
And having someone look at you now as an adult with absolute adoration in their eyes does not meet the need of the past child.
That's true.
We have to go in and
Yes.
actually work with that part of the brain, the nervous system, the cells, our emotions. And that's why it's so important to talk about inner child work and trauma work.
Well, let's go there for a moment. Okay.
Yeah.
Because again, this all comes together with the anxiety and how the anxiety can affect all the areas. And again, like you just said, and especially too, it can affect the matters of the heart or us in having those healthy relationships. Because if we're not really dealing with what you just said, then it's going to keep resurfacing, right? It keeps resurfacing. So what are some things? So the listeners right now, they're like, okay, I'm listening to this. This is good. Where can they start when it comes to this specifically?
I have a 3-minute hack.
Okay, let's hear it.
Yeah. Because
Okay.
sometimes we don't have the time to spend hundreds of dollars and years in therapy.
Okay.
So this is a way to start the process of becoming your own trauma-informed therapist.
Okay.
In 3 minutes.
Oh, I love this.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is amazing.
This is amazing.
And it can be really activating for people. So we won't do the whole thing here
Okay.
today,
Okay.
but I'll walk you through the steps.
Okay.
And so when you do this exercise, I would say to go somewhere where you have a little bit of privacy.
Okay.
Where you're not going to be interrupted. If you have kids that are constantly wanting to touch you, hang on you, grip you, is tell them that you need to take a shower and then
Okay.
just sit in the bathroom.
Okay.
Whatever you got to do, get some time
Perfect.
away.
Ladies, get in that bathroom, turn it on, and close the door.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Yes. You're going to set your phone for 60 seconds.
Okay.
And so then in that 60 seconds, maybe even if you feel so comfortable, as I believe that there's a really important somatic or body-based component to this because the body's keeping the score,
The body's
right?
keeping score.
Yeah. So maybe place your hands where you feel worry, stress, overwhelm, alarm, activation.
Usually it's right here for me.
For you, it's your gut.
Yes,
So you
it's my
might
gut.
place your hands over your gut.
Okay.
Other places I hear a lot are the chest,
The
even
chest,
the throat.
The throat.
Yeah. Or the heart specifically.
Okay, now I'm feeling all of them.
Some people,
yeah.
it's just like I need to put my hands in a butterfly hug. So if you're listening to the audio file, I really like to butterfly hug where you cross your arms and your left hand is on your right shoulder, your right hand's on your left shoulder. And you might even gently this whole time is just tap left and right. And
Okay.
so this is founded in the research of EMDR,
Okay.
eye movement desensitization reprocessing,
Which
right?
is pretty amazing.
It's amazing.
Yes.
So we all of us teachers, I stand on the shoulder of giants. And so this is borrowed from EMDR. So, or if your hand's on your tummy, just bring it there because it brings the brain's awareness. It activates those parts of the brain to pay attention that may not be verbal, may not have access to time and place, but they have access to sensation. And maybe if your little you felt that sensation, it can activate her.
Yes.
So in that first 60 seconds, you just settle into yourself and you may bring up a feeling that is difficult or challenging. I often encourage people to start with something a little easier
Okay.
before we go into my mom doesn't love me or my mother didn't love me or something. Is maybe I feel frustrated at my kids.
Okay.
So we start with something easy as we just kind of learn the dance steps. And what we acknowledge, we can heal. What we deny will amplify. So the first step is just pure acknowledgement. Acknowledgement.
That's so good.
So we're going to just notice it for 60 seconds.
Okay.
And then your alarm is going to go off. And then you're going to set your alarm for a second 60 seconds. And then what you're going to do is you're going to notice the thoughts, the feelings, the sensations, the images, whatever's coming up for you when you acknowledge it. And then we're going to go down the timeline. So you're going to imagine that you zoom out and you see your life as a long timeline. And you're going to go back to the earliest moment that you can remember feeling that way.
Feeling that way.
Because the body is storing a program.
Yes.
We have all been programmed.
Yes.
And what we're going to do in this 3-minute hack is we're going to reprogram. Because we inherit the way to think about ourselves, the way to think about others, how we see the world. Is it dangerous? Is it scary? Is it safe? Am I lovable? So you're going to go back to the earliest programming, the root cause of that.
Okay.
And we're going to get there. And then when we get there, the alarm is going to go off. So now we're in the present. We went down the timeline. We went to the past. And now the last 60 seconds.
Last 60 seconds.
You are going to timestamp the time warp.
Oh.
So trauma, difficulty, unmet needs, inner child, value, all of this stuff gets stored and it's in a time warp. So that's why when someone sees that red truck coming, it feels like it's happening.
It feels like it's happening right then again, even though it could have happened 15 years ago.
Exactly.
Okay.
So we got to timestamp it. So what you're going to notice is you're going to talk directly to that part, that image, that event, that inner child. And you're going to say to that part, I hear you. And I want to thank you so much for speaking to me. By maybe making my tummy gurgle, or by making my thoughts race, by making me a perfectionist, by making me feel like I'm never enough, by making me get insecure when my husband talks to another woman, whatever it is. I thank you for that. And I hear you and I honor you. And I want to let you know that it's 2025 or whenever this moment is. Right now it's 2025.
2025.
It's 2025 and I'm an adult and I've got you and I love you and I want to take care of you. And I want to ask you to set down the heavy burden that you've been carrying of trying to take care of me and protect me. Because now I have everything that you've given to me and all sorts of resources. You say that to that part and you imagine that that part may be carrying a backpack or a heavy burden. And you might even visualize that part setting it down. Some parts freely set it down. Other parts need to know they can trust you.
I got goosies. You know what I just pictured when you did that?
Goosies too.
I know. I was just thinking, you know what I'm picturing? I literally was picturing opening the window and allowing it to go.
So
is that
many
okay?
people.
Okay, yeah. I was like, I'm opening this window right now.
Yeet it to the sun.
Look at that. Look at
light it on fire. Throw it out the
whatever
window.
it is that you are. You know what I love about that is so often like the things that we're, having the anxiety about or worrying about, we try to suppress it. We try to not even think about it because we don't want to feel through it or we shame ourselves or we put ourselves in these positions. What you just said was so powerful. You're actually saying, no, recognize it. It's okay. And thank it. Wow. Because you're taking, I'm not a doctor like you, but you're literally taking that energetic energy away from it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yes.
Oh, that's good. Oh, that's good.
We do this with autoimmune disease.
Wow.
We do this with emotional things. We do this with, there's so much research backing this up.
Wow.
Yeah.
So basically when you're feeling that, do you like, honestly, instead of trying to ignore it, because it's not going to go anywhere. It can keep it can keep getting bigger, right? Okay. Walk away, take a moment and say, what is this? What am I? Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me ask you this. So you then are going through this process, like you said, from early on, yourself, you're going into college and you already said, you're journaling and you're so boy crazy. During this time, did you find yourself in a, relationship, a serious relationship or not so much?
Oh, I was boomeranging hard with a relationship that they always say all the world's a stage.
Yeah.
And every phase of life we go through, we are just hiring different actors. And until we are willing to step away from the role that we're playing, we're going to keep casting the same kinds of characters.
The stories.
The same stories. So I had a boyfriend for like 10 years, my entire adolescence.
You did.
It was just like my dad.
Okay.
It was like Have you ever heard of the behavioral studies where they give the rats a lever, and when they hit the
And they
lever,
hit yes,
yeah.
yes, yes.
So intermittent reinforcement is what makes the rats crazy. And they're just like whamming at the lever, because they'll hit the lever, they'll get a pellet and they're happy. They eat a little snack. They hit the lever again, pellet. They hit the lever again, no pellet. And they're like, what happened?
What happened?
Why isn't the pellet?
Okay, yes.
So that's a metaphor for intermittent attachment.
Okay.
Where you have a parent that may not be there for you consistently. And so then you're not there for yourself consistently. And then you start bringing in people into your life that feel familiar, because the devil you know often feels safer than the devil you don't.
Yep.
And so I had this boyfriend who gave me intermittent reinforcement, and then I was obsessed and crazy for many years.
Well, you know what? Again, that really makes a lot of sense to me, because we talk about like relationship patterns and why we keep attracting the same type of person, even though they can look different. Or we talk about how is it? I thought that I did things differently, and I feel like I'm in the same type of relationship.
Yeah.
That has to come back for what you just said.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. And these are patterns, though. These are things that can actually be shifted.
Yeah, you can change all of that. It's just data.
It's just data.
It's just
Talk
data.
about that.
Everything that I look at is just information.
Okay.
I'm the Sherlock Holmes of symptoms.
Okay.
With anxiety, if we could be curious about it, it can empower us to not just not be anxious. It can actually empower us to thrive.
Ooh.
We can have deeper connections, better sex, better friendships, better sense of self. I was talking to a patient just the other day, and she's like, I am so lonely. And she has this deep sense of loneliness.
Yes.
But it's because she didn't have the attachment needs met when she was a child, and she never learned how to meet those needs for herself. So the work that we're doing right now is doing the inner child work, where and this goes into internal family systems. Maybe you've seen Inside Out.
Inside Out.
Your kids may be a little old.
Oh,
for
no,
that.
I have. No, I love it. It's amazing. They have two of them, right?
Two of them now.
It's so good.
So internal family systems, it shows that we have different parts of ourselves. And she has a younger part that feels so lonely and so neglected. And we have this origin story, this memory. And she's practicing the 3-minute hack. And she's getting better. And she's making better choices. She actually, after doing some of this work, she had a relationship back to me. Because she was dating someone just like one of her caretakers.
Okay.
Yep. And she's like, I see this pattern. I feel this archetype. I know what it feels like in my body, even though my brain is like, love me, love me, love me. Her body's like, this feels weird and wrong.
Mm-hmm.
She's been listening to her body. She left a really bad relationship.
She did.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let me ask you this. So for my ladies out there, hi, that are single. And, again, and they are also in a state right now. They're feeling lonely. They're having, that anxiety of like, oh, is it getting too late? Is it taking too long? How do I what is something that they can do to start shifting that?
Yeah, I would do the 3-minute hack.
The 3-minute hack.
And start really building your relationship with your inner child, with your inner self. Because if you're going into, and I don't want to get too much into what may be categorized as like crunchy or woo-woo.
Yeah.
But I really believe that we are energy.
Yes.
We've seen in quantum physics that when you look at a particle, it changes into a wave versus when we look away, it's a solid subject. Or I think I got that backwards.
Okay.
But the frequency that we're in with I am enough, I am overflowing, I am lovable, I am safe, I am abundant, I am joy, all of the things, all vibes, is a frequency that's going to be different from feeling like I'm not enough, I'm not worthy of love, I need somebody to meet that. It's going to pull in a different kind of archetype.
It's going to pull in, yep.
So the first thing you need to do is start building your relationship with yourself. And the 3-minute hack is a good way to do that.
Okay. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you got to go inwards first. You have to go inwards first. We hear this, but it's really true.
Yeah.
There's really no other way.
There's no other way.
You got to go inwards first. You got to find out, like you said, the root, get under the hood. What is honestly bringing this up? What's going back, around and around. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's really good. So now you're going into college.
Yes.
And so when you went into college, were you already thinking, okay, I want to be a doctor? What were you thinking you wanted to study from the beginning?
I wanted to study medicine.
You did.
But I was told by my psychobiology instructor that I couldn't be a doctor because we did this stupid experiment where we broke an egg onto a petri dish and under a microscope, and it was a fertilized egg, and we were seeing the heartbeat.
Yeah.
And we watched these little baby chickens die under a microscope.
Yeah.
And I cried. I was like, this is so inhumane.
Yes.
And he was like, you can never be a doctor.
You can never be that type of doctor.
I was like, I guess I can't. So I went to counseling school instead.
You're like, forget it. I'm not going to be a doctor then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you decided then I definitely wanted to, when you thought about going into that, what were you envisioning the type of work that you wanted to do?
The work that I do now.
Yes.
I wanted to help because when we think about, we talked about inner child, and we talked about trauma, and we talked about adaptations, is that those adaptations occur from head to toe. So here's a theoretical example.
Okay.
Let's say that when I was a kid, it was a very stressful household.
Yes.
And whenever I heard the sound of a car engine pulling into the garage, that associated in my mind as dad's coming home and he's going to be stressed from work. He may be angry.
Okay.
And so then the brain tells the body, we need to be hypervigilant. We need to be more aware of our surroundings.
What's going on?
Right?
Yeah.
So on a biophysiological level, our body's like, I got you. I'm going to raise the cortisol. I'm going to raise blood sugar. I'm going to do all of these things.
Okay.
So then we have this basal level of cortisol that's elevated. Cortisol interferes with your immune system and causes immune system suppression.
It does.
So now your immune system is suppressed. You're stressed. Your immune system is suppressed. That's
You're
why you don't
weight.
get sick. You're gaining weight.
Yes.
So have you ever noticed when your stress drops, you finally go on vacation, you get sick?
Yes.
Yeah.
Why?
Because your
that's
immune
actually
system,
a thing.
That's a thing.
That's a thing.
So when we're stressed, cortisol is we can't fight disease. We have to run from the tiger. So cortisol suppresses your immune system. But then opportunistic infections have the opportunity to now start to take over. And so then we get inflammation, oftentimes in the gut.
In the gut.
Inflammation, we say leaky gut, leaky brain. So that inflammation can accumulate and compound. And then bugs that like inflammation, like yeast, candida, they start to take over. It changes the pH. It changes the way you metabolize estrogen. There's a opportunistic bug in the gut called Clostridia.
Okay.
It reactivates estrogen that you're trying to get rid of. And now you're estrogen dominant. You had no idea it could have been stress because you're worried when
and
the
this
car
is all
comes
can
in.
happen from stress.
It can all happen from stress.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And okay, yeah, keep going. This is good.
So now leaky gut, leaky brain, all these inflammatory factors are getting into the brain. The brain's like, oh shit, we don't like being inflamed.
Right.
We're going to tell the amygdala that we're in danger. The amygdala is like, got you. I'm going to make more cortisol. Right? So now we have these feedback loops that are going on in the background. So now I have all this inner child stuff. I'm trying to figure my way out in the world. I'm boy crazy. I'm hitting the lever.
You're hitting the lever. You're like, what is going on?
Why me? So then the doctor's like, Lexapro, antacids. We're trying to suppress symptoms, which then cause their own domino effect of chemical changes and biological changes and gut changes. And so then people who are listening to this conversation are probably like, well, I've tried changing my diet and I've tried exercising and I've tried supplements and I've tried meditation and nothing has worked. But what we want to do is we want to get to the fulcrum. You want to get to where it began, the root causes, and then we have in naturopathic medicine, we call the therapeutic order, which teaches us how to, if you will, fix the whole car. Without just being like, my car won't drive. Let's change the tires and see if that works. Well, now my car won't drive. I'll put the old tires back on and try to fix the spark plugs.
Okay.
So that's give the body what it needs.
Okay.
We need love. We need self-love. We need exercise. We need great connections with people that see us. We need big, deep belly breaths. We need laughter. We need all the things. Removing obstacles to cure.
Okay.
Relationshipectomies, jobectomies, environmental toxin detox, mold detox, right? What is getting in the way of you living the life that you want and having the health that you want? And then we tonify. Tonifying is...
What is that?
We use this in traditional Chinese medicine.
Okay.
And they talk about if the body is weak or if it isn't given its energy and strength, that we give that energy and strength. We give things to help with that. In herbal medicine, we use adaptogen herbs. Maybe you've heard of ashwagandha.
I've heard of ashwagandha. I don't know what it is, though.
It's an herb.
It's an herb. Okay.
It stimulates your body's ability to be more resilient.
Okay.
So it's an adrenal adaptogen herb.
Okay. And you would usually what was going on with your body? What's going on with you that would actually help, you know?
Ooh, that's a good
Yeah,
question.
yeah.
So let's say in the example that you've had a high level of cortisol your entire life.
Yes.
Cortisol is produced largely by the adrenal glands.
Okay.
And for an organ to constantly be running from tigers can be very exhausting for that organ system.
Yes, I can imagine.
And so if you have, we did testing in the research where they looked at people who had acute PTSD and then they compared cortisol levels to people who are Holocaust victims that
Okay.
had chronic stress. And they saw that people with acute trauma had really high levels of stress hormone. So it spiked really, really high and they were panicky and aroused and activated, right?
Yeah.
But people who'd been under chronic stress who went through the Holocaust, they had almost flatlined cortisol levels. So the
Wow.
body was just running out. It's like you've run a marathon and you're tired.
You're tired. Your body's like, I have no more to
I
give.
have nothing left to give.
That's it. Okay.
So that's when we want to tonify. So what can we add to your protocol that will give you more energy and more life? And that's really important because we go to a lot of functional doctors and they want to sell us so many supplements.
Mm-hmm.
But the question is, why are you giving the supplement? Are you trying to energize the body? Are you trying to give it what it needs? Maybe you need fish oil or B vitamins.
Because sometimes it can be something just like that.
It could be something just like that.
Wow.
But it could be that they're just trying to suppress symptoms. So if they think, oh, well, you're anxious, we're going to give you just kava kava or chamomile or theanine or something calming.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the optimal reason to take a supplement. We want to be strategic of what am I trying to correct?
Do you think then, no, that's really good. Do you think then, like, if somebody is, just listening and they have been suffering from anxiety,
Mhm.
and, usually traditionally we go to the doctor, right? But some people just kind of deal with their anxiety, but it can get worse. I get this. This
Yeah.
is why you guys, it's so important to really pay attention here. But do you think then when someone goes to a traditional doctor and they are prescribed type of medications, you're saying not necessarily that those medications are the answer. Are you thinking that, are there times that people can benefit from the medications? I mean, what's your theory on this? Because I know that you have done a lot of research.
Lexapro saved my life
Okay.
as an adolescent. I'm
Okay.
so grateful for that medication. But I encourage people to put a semicolon after that.
Okay.
So, okay, I'm going to use the Lexapro or the Xanax or whatever it is to support you. It's like you break your foot. We're not going to just strong arm our way and just walk on it.
Got it.
We're going to protect ourselves,
Okay.
support ourselves.
Okay.
But then also do the digging. So you see your primary care.
Okay.
They give you the medication if that's appropriate, which the whole chemical imbalance theory is like a whole other conversation.
Is that a whole other
we could have.
conversation? Okay.
Yeah, where they used to think the TLDR, kind of too long didn't read,
Okay.
is that they used to think that low serotonin was the cause of depression. And then they did this huge meta-analysis in 2022, and it turns out there's no correlation.
There's no, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So antidepressants, the foundation upon which they were believed to work, crumbled. And now we're like, we don't really know why they work.
Mm-hmm.
But for some people, they do.
Mm-hmm.
And so then while you're taking the antidepressant, go to a trauma therapist. Listen to really good podcasts, make friends, build a community, find a spiritual life, spiritual practice.
And I love that. And also, and it's something that we just truly, one of the most basic things that you said earlier is really pay attention to how you're taking care of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we're not honestly really, sometimes I'm always like thinking for the outside. When I am not taking care of myself, and what I mean by that is really paying attention to what I'm thinking, really paying attention to what I'm having anxiety about, what I'm eating, how I'm sleeping. I mean, really the basics, basics. When I'm not doing the basics, things get a little crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, really, my life gets a little like, whoa, what's going on, girlfriend? What's going on? I can see how it starts affecting my relationship with my man.
Yeah.
I see how it starts affecting, like how I'm looking at my friends. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So it's not just, you guys, seriously, it's not just going to the doctor and thinking that the medication, start the other way first.
Yeah.
Start the other way first.
Yeah.
Is that what you would recommend?
Yes. Small changes can make a huge impact.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay. So I want to get here. So you go and then you get to college. And what happened with Mr. Paul? Because no, seriously, where were you at? Like when Paul came into your life, where would you say you were at with, were you at the height of the anxiety and kind of like trying to figure that all out? Were you in the middle? Were you kind of coming off of, where were you when Paul came into your life? And how did Paul come into your life?
He's so cute.
Oh,
I was at a place where I was alchemizing my anxiety into a hedonic treadmill of achievements and perfectionism.
okay.
So I was young in my 20s and I could go pedal to the metal to try to be perfect at everything.
Okay. So that was you were still in that, like, everything's going to be great. Okay, gotcha.
I've got it under control.
Got it under control.
Everything is fine.
You're like, but I'm not. But I am.
It's
And then
like,
Paul's here.
and then he was so cute. We were in graduate school. There's like 80 women. I got a degree in clinical psychology and Chicago School of Professional Psychology. There's like 80 women and 4 guys. And
really?
He was really cute.
Oh, wow.
He was in a band, and
Paul.
he also was Grumpy Paul.
Was he
during
Grumpy
those
Paul?
days. He was really grumpy.
Because he's like in a band, but then
he's in a band and he's like, I'm too cool, but I hate myself and I hate dating. And so I was like, I'm attracted to that.
I like that one. That was my guy.
Yeah, that's a familiar pattern.
I love it.
So Paul and I grew up together, and we dated from 2006 to 2013 before we finally got married.
Did you?
Yeah.
Wow.
We did a lot of getting our wiggles out, doing therapy, doing our own inner child work, going to doctors, healing the gut.
So you guys were actually doing that kind of work separately, but together.
Yeah.
Wow.
And this is great for your relationship.
Tell us.
So knowing about parts work is game changing.
Yes.
Like, you have a partner?
Yes, I have a partner.
Okay. So normally he's got to be great because you love him.
Yeah.
So clearly,
well, it depends on what day.
Yeah. So depending on the day. So does he have these things that he does that feels like really out of character?
Yes.
Like, where did that come from?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So oftentimes that's a hijack. It's a part hijack. I'll give you a concrete example.
Okay, let's get,
I always give this example. He doesn't mind.
Okay.
He's like, oh, you're telling another person about that. So
you're like, Paul, we're just trying to help people here. It's okay.
We're just trying to help, and I think you're wonderful. So we were having an argument, and we were going back and forth. And when we argue, I get more and more logical and condescending.
Okay.
And he gets more emotional and like flabbergasted.
Okay.
And so I'm like going at him, and I'm like Judge Judying it. And I'm like, I got this. I'm like banging him. I'm going to win this argument. And he just got to this place where he was like, and he balled up his fist and he stomped his foot. And I'm like, what are we, 10?
Yeah, like, where is this coming from?
Like, you're acting like a child.
Yeah,
like,
I'm really understanding this right now.
You feel that.
Yeah.
So he went to his therapist.
Okay.
And it turns out that I had triggered a younger part of him.
Wow.
It wasn't adult Paul. He wasn't in his grounded adult self. He had an amygdala hijack. The amygdala, remember, that's the emotional processing. It's like, oh, I know this.
Oh my gosh, girlfriend, this is making so much sense right now.
Yes. Tell me what's
my
coming
goodness.
up for you.
No, the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember one time I did the same thing. Just like I know how I kind of get like that too. I get very, what he said, you don't do your relationship thing with me. You know what I mean? I was like, well, Mark. And I did. I don't know why I got into this. And it really activated something in him. I'm like, oh, he's crazy. What? I've never seen this part of him. He like lost his mind.
Yeah.
I didn't know that I actually, because I always say you gotta be responsible for yourself, buddy.
Yeah.
But still,
yeah.
Your partner can play a big part in a lot of things. Okay, so you activated Paul, I activated, and so now we're seeing something like we're all activated too. Okay.
It's like when you're dating someone, you're dating a composite of their present self and all of their past selves.
Okay. Oh my goodness.
And all the backpacks, all those past selves are carrying unless they've yeeted them out the window, right? And so that's the importance. And so now if I see his body language changing, like if I see his little fist, I'm like, he's in an activated state. Oh, so and then when I start using that like kind of Judge Judy voice, he's like, oh, Nicole's in a hijack where she's acting like her dad.
Oh.
And so then we can either be like, hey, let's take a break.
Okay.
And step away and let us get back into our grounded
That was
bodies.
going to ask you. So if we find ourselves, because you guys, that's what I was going to tell you. You can have again and again and again and again. You can have an amazing relationship, but really relationships is where we come together and it's going to activate us. It's going to show us all of our parts. Yeah. The good, the bad, the ugly, but it's okay because when you have the right partner
Yeah.
This is something that you guys can help each other with.
Yeah.
You know, it's only not okay if we're not helping each other, grow and take care of this. Okay.
Yeah.
So if we find ourselves, seeing that, your advice is,
So in those moments,
okay, yes.
it's an amygdala hijack.
Okay, yeah.
And so our
Because you feel like
emotional
I can't
brain,
move.
I can't move. My heart is pounding. My stomach is bloating.
yes.
All of the things,
Yes,
right?
yes.
It's like, ah. So what's happening on a neurological level
Okay.
is that the amygdala will get louder. It gets more activated. Our feelings get bigger. But as a result of that, our logical brain, called the prefrontal cortex behind our eyes and our forehead,
Yes,
gets shut down.
it does.
Because you don't want to analyze the motivations of the tiger while it's eating you.
No.
You want to just be afraid so that fear can help you escape.
Yep.
Right?
You want to get out.
So when we're in an activated state with our partner, our amygdalas are really, really running the show. And we don't want to fight from feeling.
Okay.
We don't want to fight from fight, flight, freeze, flop, fawn, facture. We don't want to do that.
Okay.
So the first thing we want to do is just take a pause and then go and then regulate ourselves. And the way to regulate yourself in those moments is anything that's going to be tangible. So taste, temperature, smell, scent, the breath, going outside, that can be really game changing.
Okay.
So that when you come back together and your prefrontal cortex is back, you can reflect and be like, okay, what happened?
Oh gosh, Doctor. He has told me so many times. He's like, I need space. I'm like, why you need space? We're gonna figure this out right now. I need to give him that space.
Yes, he's so wise to know that.
That's really smart. He's like, I really need. I'm like, where you going, buddy? We gotta figure this out because I'm always like, let's figure it out right now. But really, honestly, at that time, I'm already like, in my little craziness.
Yeah.
Oh wow, you guys, please listen. If you honestly find you love your man, I got you. But if you find yourself in a situation that you're just like so heightened, it is crucial for you to remove yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And say that again. What are the three
Ground
things?
yourself.
Ground yourself.
So like maybe 3 things you can see, 3 things you can touch, 3 things you can smell, 3 things you can hear. Maybe you get cold water and you put your face in cold water, or you get a frozen pack of peas and you put them on your face.
So something like a
tangible,
quickly. Go. Ooh, yes. Okay. So you and Mr. Paul, are really genuinely learning and growing and going through this healing together.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you dated how long again until you guys got married?
2006 to 13.
Okay, don't make me do the math, but that's okay. Something like that. Yeah, it's
like a long time, like 12 years.
Yeah, like 12 years.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you finally get married to Mr. Paul.
Yeah.
What has been the biggest difference when you guys were going through that whole stages and, and growing and learning and still staying together, trying to figure it out? Because I can imagine there were so many levels there. And I know we don't, and I would love actually to bring you back so we can talk about all the levels there.
Yeah.
But what was the difference between finally when you guys got married and how you guys handle things now than all those years?
It's very validating. There's a why. So when Paul gets mad at me or he does something that like I can't stand, even though I've told him 1,000 times, it doesn't mean that he isn't safe or he doesn't love me or that we're not the right match or all of the things
all
that
the
we think.
The stories,
stories that we tell ourselves, is that it gives me, when I'm doing my work, it gives me the ability to realize that whatever's coming up for him, there's there for a reason. It's activating something in me. And so it's all data. It's an opportunity to grow. And I'm not always growth minded.
Yeah.
But he and I have committed to being growth minded together.
Really good.
So in those moments when I'm like, you know what, I don't want to think about your 10-year-old inner child.
Yeah.
I don't want to think about the fact that maybe your gut microbiome's a mess because you ate those chicken wings.
You're like, that's really what's going on, buddy.
You're behaving badly. But you know what? When both people are on board and you're in this thing together, it can feel like a partnership. And I think that's, for me, what really the best part of being married is that I have a partner to do this thing with.
Yes.
And I'm so grateful for that.
Yes.
I have my inner me's and I also have Paul and his inner he's.
Oh, yes. Oh, Mr. Paul. Yes.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Now, listen, I know I say that. How many times have I said this? Why does this conversation went so, like, how did it go so fast? I'm still like, okay, I want to get deeper here because she had like 9 different things. Maybe just kind of give us a little overview on, when you talked about there was 9 different ways that our anxiety can come up, because I want to make sure we talked about that. And you guys, listen, get the book. Get the book. Panic Proof, Dr. Nicole Cain. Get the book. Okay.
So the kind of the end TLDR
Yes,
again,
yeah,
if you will.
because I want them to understand that this book is so amazing in the sense of how you break it all down. So talk about that real quick.
Yeah,
Okay.
anxiety can show up from head to toe.
Okay.
And instead of just a bucket of symptoms like everywhere you're feeling fearful, that's anxiety, is the more specific we are, the more specific our treatments can be, so we get better results.
Oh, I love that. That. Okay.
Yeah.
So what are the
instead of escaping.
9 type of,
Thought anxiety.
thought
So
anxiety?
future tripping, worrying, obsessing, blank mind.
Okay.
And then we have nervous system anxiety,
Okay.
which is in the nervous system. So numbness, tingling, muscles tension,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Chest anxiety, my heart is pounding, I'm skipping beats, I'm palpitating, I feel like an elephant's on my chest. Also air hunger. So feeling like I can't get enough oxygen. You see people breathing with a bag, so
Yes.
they're hyperventilating.
That's anxiety too.
Chest anxiety.
Okay. Okay.
Then there's endocrine anxiety, which is anxiety that has to do with our hormones, thyroid, adrenals, sex hormones.
Oh, we were going to get into hormones too. Oh,
We have so much to talk about,
oh,
friend.
so much. Seriously,
Yeah.
we'll have a part 2.
We'll have a part 2.
Yeah, we'll really have a part 2, because that was another thing. I know I want you to finish those, but I want to say this too. Hormones, ladies, how that really affects us, and how the hormones and the anxieties, they're sisters.
They are.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, endocrine anxiety, hormone anxiety. It's so huge, especially my friends that are menopausal and perimenopausal.
That's me right now.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
talk
We
about
gotta
that real
talk
quick.
about that. So not all estrogen is created equal.
Okay.
And estrogen is not bad. Estrogen has gotten such a bad rap. Oh, you're estrogen dominant. Oh, you're all these things about estrogen. But estrogen is panic proof.
Oh.
Estrogen is anti-anxiety. But our body breaks estrogen down into estrogen metabolites. There's 2-OH, 4-OH, and 16-OH.
Okay.
When you go to the doctor and they test your estrogen, they're just looking at estradiol, not what it's getting broken down into.
Not what's breaking it down.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like saying, I like Portugal, but I don't have any clue about the culture or the people. I just like Portugal.
I just
right?
like Portugal,
It's
just like
just a
Portugal, but you don't really know
sweeping-
why you like Portugal.
Yes.
Okay, I got you. Okay.
So there's good estrogen metabolites. We love 2-OH. 2-OH estrogen is cancer preventative. It's anti-anxiety. It's anti-inflammatory. 2-OH is great.
Okay.
Our liver breaks it down to make 2-OH. But some of us, because of bugs in the gut, like bacteria, like Clostridia or other things,
Yes.
we make 16-OH and 4-OH. And those are estrogens that can increase our risk of cancers, that can increase our risk of abnormal periods, that can cause us to have panic attacks, that can interfere with our day-to-day living, hot flashes, all those things.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, now we go beyond estrogen, and then estrogen will affect progesterone. Some progesterones are panic blocking and some are panic inducing.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's testosterone. So we got to get more into endocrine anxiety.
We do. And when it comes to that stuff, when you said you go to the doctor and then you get tested, but they're really not testing you, where can people go that are listening right now to get the real results?
I have a secret website.
Okay.
So in the book, I have a URL to a hidden page on my website.
Okay.
Where you can read about all of the tests, and I actually link you to where you can order tests.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then
fantastic.
I have bundles of, if you get this result on a test, ask your doctor about this bundle. What exactly?
Oh, see, you guys, that's amazing, because
Yeah.
I want them to be able to actually apply things that we're listening to today.
Mm-hmm.
So if they really want to find out what's going on with their hormones and their estrogens and their testosterone, this book is a really good resource for them to know exactly where to start.
Yeah.
Okay. I love that. Okay. So then I think you gave me 4.
So then we have immune system anxiety.
Okay.
So histamine can cause panic attacks. That's interesting in terms of we all have infections. We're in a post-COVID world. There's molds, there's allergies, immune system anxiety.
Okay.
Then there's anger anxiety, where people, when they're having anger management issues, it could be that they're frightened. It could be that they're traumatized. It could be that they're anxious. It's all autonomic arousal.
Okay.
There's depressive anxiety, where we have that mix of I feel scared and worthless and sad. We have trauma anxiety. Really, trauma is the umbrella of everything. But
yes.
if it's like we were differentiating before, is it like PTSD? and you need to do specific trauma work, or is it more an adaptation to what did or did not happen?
Did not happen. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that, did we miss anything? Nervous system, gut, gut anxiety, of
Gut.
course. The gut-brain axis, gas and bloating, indigestion, irritable bowel syndrome.
That's anxiety too.
That's gut anxiety.
Okay. That can be. And when we get to find out and we get to figure out what exactly it is, like you said, that can really help us with the treatment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here's an example from pharmacology.
Okay.
So if you go to an MD or a psychiatrist and you tell them I have panic attacks,
Okay.
they'll start with an antidepressant. If an antidepressant doesn't work or the side effects are intolerable, then they may try Xanax. But Xanax will make you feel like a zombie. They're very habit forming, and it's very, very, we don't want to go to Xanax unless we have to.
Okay.
But if your doctor's really good and you tell them, oh, well, my anxiety's in my chest. When I fly on planes, my heart pounds and it makes me panic. A really smart doctor might give you propranolol.
Okay.
Or a beta blocker that stops the heart from pounding so hard. So just by being a little bit more specific, they're able to target that. But let's go to gut anxiety and integrative and functional medicine.
Mm-hmm.
If you come in and you go and see a functional doctor, a naturopath, and you say, I have anxiety and I get gas and bloating, I'm not going to give you propranolol for your heart.
Mm-mm.
I'm going to ask what's going on in the gut.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to look at healing the gut. I might look at gut testing. I might look at diet, nutrition. What are you doing while you're eating? Are you like running like a mad woman and shoving food down your throat fast?
That's good. Yeah.
So it helps us zero in on the root cause and how to treat it.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
And you know what? Honestly, I'm from the bottom of my heart sincerely about to say something to you. Here we go. I'm not kidding you. I believe wholeheartedly this book that you wrote is incredible. Incredible. And I would say for the listeners, and I'm not just plugging her book. I'm not getting anything from this. I'm telling you guys right now. I'm telling you the truth. And I always do. But I believe if someone's listening and they also have found themselves just starting, having some anxiety and stuff, I'm going to tell you this right now. Get the book. I really believe that. I believe that this book is going to guide them exactly what they need to do, things that they can try first. And then after that, they can keep, continue on going to the doctor. I love how you broke this down. No, seriously. This is again, look at the goosies I got again. This is incredible because this to me is a roadmap. This is something when we keep talking about, well, where do I start? What do I do? How do I know? What about this? What about this? I love that you said, first of all, we have to get curious about ourselves. We have to do our own research. Mm-hmm. We can't just rely on someone else, telling us to take a pill because there's so many other things that they can apply. So I would say, you guys, seriously, I'm going to leave the link to this book in the show notes. So it'll be easy for you to find it. I know you can find it on Amazon or bookstores, wherever you get your books.
Yes.
But definitely, take a look at this book. Take this book, do a deep dive, get the help you need. How do we get in your world, Dr. Nicole? Seriously, how do we find you?
You and I hang out on Instagram.
Okay.
And so it's Dr. Nicole Cain, Cain on Instagram. My website's Dr. Nicole Cain. I have a YouTube. Come and hang out.
Come and hang out.
Yeah.
Okay. And before I have to let you go today, is there anything else that you want to say, when it comes to people listening right now and they're like, wow, this is starting to make a lot of sense to me. Anything you want to leave the listeners with?
You can heal.
You can heal.
Just like if you fall and scrape your knee, your body heals that scrape without even you thinking about it. Your body is designed to heal. Your brain can heal. Your heart can heal. And it's never too late. You can always heal.
Oh, okay. That we're leaving it on that note. Okay, hold on. Here we go. Yay. Hold on. Yay. Okay, now I'm just letting you know, usually sometimes I pre-open this. I know my producer over there is probably like, okay, I don't know what she's doing, but I'm gonna try this right now. So I usually pre-open this, but for some reason I was like, I'm not gonna pre. Oh, see, I don't know why. I didn't. I wanted to open it from scratch.
That's a nice sound.
Wasn't that nice? Okay.
If you pre-opened it, we wouldn't have heard that sound.
Yeah, we wouldn't have heard that sound. Let me get you right up in here.
Thank you.
I know it's a lot, but you know what? It's okay.
We're celebrating.
We are celebrating.
Celebrating.
No, seriously. Thank you, Dr. Nicole. That was incredible. What an incredible conversation today. And I know that it's truly, genuinely going to touch a lot of people because I think that's such a subject I mean, well, obviously you wrote this book, but it's such a subject that affects our life.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to anymore.
It doesn't have
We can heal.
Yes.
Ah!
We can heal. It's
I
never
know.
too late.
And then we can go with Paul and have great relationships.
Yes.
And things can change.
Yes.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yes.
That's why.
And have fun while doing it.
And
You
have
don't have to be
fun.
perfect. You can have champagne and still heal from anxiety.
Oh,
Yeah.
I loved it.
You can have
Okay.
it all right.
So to next time, cheers to great love.
Cheers to great love.
Let's talk about the tip of the week, which is, instead of asking, what's wrong with me? Ask, what is my body trying to tell me? When we experience anxiety or even panic, our natural reaction is often to think something is wrong with us. But what if we looked at it differently? This week on the podcast, I interviewed Dr. Nicole Cain, author of Panic Proof, and she shared something that really resonated with me. She said, anxiety isn't a flaw, it's a messenger. And when we can learn to get curious instead of critical, everything starts to shift. So this week, I want to invite you to pause the next time you feel overwhelmed or anxious and gently ask yourself, what is my body trying to communicate to me right now? You will be amazed at what you discover when you start listening with compassion instead of judgment. That's a wrap. Wow. If there's one thing I want you to take away from today's episode, it's this. Anxiety isn't your enemy. According to Dr. Nicole Cain's book, Panic Proof, anxiety is actually a signal, a messenger from the body trying to get your attention. It's not here to destroy you. It's here to teach you something. When you stop fighting the anxiety and you start getting curious, healing begins. You are not broken. You're being invited to go deeper, to connect, to listen, and to respond with love instead of fear. So if you ever felt overwhelmed, panicked, or anxious, know this. There is hope. You are not alone, and you are so much stronger and more powerful than fear or anxiety ever could be. Thank you, Dr. Nicole, for such an incredible conversation. If you're loving this podcast and these incredible conversations, please hit the subscribe button and leave a 5-star review. Don't miss an episode, because each week I'll be bringing on guests and experts who will share their knowledge about love, dating, and relationships so you can apply it into your own life. I'll see you next week. And until then, cheers to great love.